Hey, welcome everybody. Sitting here with a cup of coffee if you're watching this on YouTube, and I wanted to shoot something here 15, 20 minutes long for you guys. I posted something on LinkedIn yesterday, and I wanted to do a episode here of just me talking about hiring. Now, for those of you who know me a little bit, I come from, I don't know, over a decade, I think 10, 11 years of, recruiting. And I was at an agency, worked with anywhere from small business to Fortune, 50 companies nationally. So I was able to see hiring processes, best practices, things that worked. So a lot of stuff that didn't work. And what I was able to do yesterday on a LinkedIn post was just put that out there a little bit on, hey, here's what I see as best practices, because it's odd right now to me. I keep seeing the unemployment rate. I think it's like 3.7, which is historically low. It's like 1.7 jobs for every person looking and such like that, depending upon industry. At the same time, you're seeing, I think Google just came out and said they have to cut more to be hit their forecast. Xerox had a big one. Amazon of a while. I posted one thing on Spotify and how they went through that big thing, and I'll probably do an episode on that into the future. But the point is that the market is still very competitive. Now, this pertains to any job. You've heard me talk a lot on here on sales and marketing, but for these practices, even though I may use a sales reference because that's what I'm used to, they pertain to any position. It doesn't even matter what role. Okay. You can go up to VP role as far as I'm concerned. Okay. So I want to talk through these with you, and I don't want to extend the episode, but I want to get through these in depth and allow you to just hear, my thoughts on these. Okay. So I'm going to glance for those guys watching on YouTube here. I want to watch, bring out my post over here to the left. I don't want to go exactly in order because these are how they came to my mind. And in my mind, these are in the order of importance. Let's start off with, the hill that I'm going to stand on, and I will fight until the end. Your process has to be 3 weeks long. Now, 3 weeks from initial interview, that could be with your talent acquisition, your recruiter, it could be with you if you're a small business, whatever it is, 3 weeks from that date until that candidate has an offer in hand, in writing to look at. Not, we're going to get you an offer, not, hey, congratulations, wink, wink, hang in there. None of that. Don't even play that game. 3 weeks. Now, you may have, and I've heard everything in the book, trust me, in terms of process. You may say, well, they have to interview with 3 people, and I have a committee, and it's hard for scheduling, and they have to take this test, and the test has to get graded, and then they got to do a presentation. Then they got to meet with the CEO. Great. That's great. Have every step in your process if you want to, but the golden rule is 3 weeks. Now, why is that? Because if you like this candidate, somebody else does as well. Okay. Don't, you may ask the candidate, hey, are you interviewing? You may have, sourced them, and they may be a passive candidate. Do not let anything deter you off of this fact, because here's how this works. You get excited. You come in, you do the interview, you talk to your recruiter, your talent acquisition, your first interview, a little bit of excitement on the candidate side. It's all about the candidate. Okay. As they go through the process, you build on that momentum. You build on that excitement, right? From interview to whatever you want to do, presentation, panel, etc. It is a two-way process. Yes, you're interviewing that candidate, but you got to make sure that that candidate is feeling that momentum and they know you're interested, because I may not be interviewing actively, but in this market, you're getting a recruiter hitting you up once a week. Once a week, the recruiter reaches out. You may or may not respond, but you know it's there. So you cannot wait. And I always tell folks, if a candidate is interviewing with you, they are now on the market. Do not believe them when they say Oh yeah, you're my only interview. Wrong. It's just not. Okay. They're at least talking to somebody, they're flirting the idea. If they're going through the process with you, they're probably serious. Okay. So 3 weeks, no matter what, condense it down, and I guarantee that you will be competitive. Now, I've had clients come back to me and say, Dave, I followed all these rules. I'm gonna get through all of them, right? And I didn't get my candidate. Yeah, you're right. You didn't. Right? It's yeah, I'm sorry. You're not going to get every last one. This isn't a you're going to get every top candidate, but you will set yourself up for a huge advantage, because I will tell you, probably if you do these steps, I would put you in the top 10%. I would put you best in class hiring practices in terms of an organization. And again, Fortune 50, 10-person company, 20-person company, doesn't matter. These are the rules to play. Okay. All right. Next one, as I look off here. Up front, as you define your steps, you want to convey this to the candidate. They have to know coming in, what is the process going to be? What's it going to look like? How long is it going to be in their mind? They may leave that interview ready to go with you, but in your mind, you have 5 steps to go. Okay. You, this has to be conveyed to the candidate. You also may talk to them on your timeline. Let's say you are at 3 weeks. You tell them, say, hey, look, our goal is this. Let's make sure we're aligned. You want to get any candidate out of the way who's not serious. Okay. Have them pull themselves out now. If you tell them 3 weeks and I'm a candidate just shopping around, kicking a tire, and I take a phone call for the heck of it, you're going to get those folks out. They're going to self-identify and go, all right, you know what? Hey, I'm going to hold for now. I'm good. I want to die. Good. Goodbye. I didn't waste my time. I didn't put you in front of 9 people. You didn't take my test, etc. Okay. So tell them your timeline up front. Tell them the steps that you're going to go through. Hey, you're going to meet with hey, you're meeting with me in talent acquisition, or, recruiter, or hey, I'm your first interview as your sales manager. You're going to meet with my vice president. If all goes well, it'd be you, me, my vice president, and our CEO for a final call, probably in about 2.5 weeks. The goal is to have, if everything goes great, to have you an offer in 3 weeks. Does that sound good? Okay. Now we're aligned, right? Now there's no miscommunication here in terms of what's expected. And if they want to take that journey with you, then they know. Now we're going to have the offer at the end. Okay. We're going to talk offer at the end here at the very end, which makes sense, right? Okay. Last one, or not last one. Heck, what the hell am I saying? I don't edit these podcasts, by the way, in terms of if I make a mistake. So there you go. So now, you have to be careful with this one. But if you identify a top candidate, and I'm talking somebody that has the credentials, has the background, has the experience, you mesh on a personality and a culture fit, it is there. You have sparks from day one. You know it. It's love at first sight, and you're in. You cannot be so rigid on your hiring process that you cannot change. If you said, okay, all right, Dave, I'm going to, my process is usually a month or 5 weeks, and I'm going to condense it for you. I'm going to get it down to 3. Well, now 5 minutes later, you're telling me I have to change again. And yes, I am telling you that. Big if, you identify a top candidate that comes and you're like, this is the person, I'm not losing this person, then you have to be able to adjust to that. Okay. Because if you identified, and now we're talking top 10% of a candidate here. Okay. If you identify that person, everybody else is as well. Do not let them leave. Okay. Do not let them leave without a definitive process. And I would tell you, for a top candidate, I've seen Fortune 500 companies do it in 48 hours. Don't tell me you have too much red tape. I'm not going to believe it. I'm sorry. You may get mad at me. Hit the pause button here. That's okay. But you can. If you have the top candidate, then you have to adjust. I would tell you 48 to 72 hours. But now, again, let me go back to point 2. You got to, you got to tell them and say, hey, look, we're ready. I'd like you, our normal process is 3 weeks. We would like to, we really like you. We'd like to do this interview tomorrow and maybe, my vice president final interview on Friday. Would that work for you? Is that okay? Now you get alignment with the candidate. You cannot go through this process without alignment with the candidate. And I think a lot of companies do not just understand that, or maybe forget it, or just don't spend enough time on it, is that the candidate's got to be with you right now, and then you can adjust based on what they want to do as well. Okay, so be flexible for the top candidate that comes across your desk, okay, or your interview, or walks in the door, and whatever. Okay, all right, this is one that I saw, and it's very, I haven't seen this at all actually in my recruiting experience, but I saw it this week and someone showed it to me and said, hey, check this out. And it was a job description written with the name of the person that you're going to report to. Now, I understand people change. I understand you may have an account executive position for larger companies and they may have 3 different managers. I understand that. But if you can, put the name of the person that they're going to report to. I would tell you that the majority of the times you can do this. Okay. Now, why is that? Well, if I'm a candidate, if I'm a top candidate, again, it's all about the candidate in this thing. In this market with 3.7 unemployment, it's all about the candidate. Okay. I want to see who I'm reporting to. There's no guessing. There's no, I'm gonna find out in the interview process, a week in, whatever. Put the name of that person in the job description. Hey, you're gonna report to the CRO, Dave Lemcool, blah. Well, what's the first thing that I'm gonna do as a candidate? I'm gonna go right to Dave's LinkedIn page and see his experience. Okay, so step one is I got to make sure my hiring manager, or you, has a good LinkedIn page, because that's where you're going to drive your candidates to. Have them look at your experience, how long you've been there, what your background is. Because if I'm a top candidate, money is money. I'm probably going to get that. And we're going to talk that at the end a little bit too. Okay, I want to add that to the list. But I want to see who I'm working for. In my 10 years of recruiting, I will tell you how many times that people accepted even money, and the piece was who I report to, what can they teach me, what can I learn from them. I had a great personality fit. It's all about the person you report to. So put that in the job description. Get them psyched up about working for, Dave or Tom or, whoever. Put that in the job description. So it's a little bit new. This is a little bit one I saw and I was like, I like that idea. And I think it was one that more people should put out there. Okay. Again, if you can, if it's a general job description that's going to be, somewhere on the East Coast and you may report to 3 people. Okay, fine. In that case, as soon as you know who that person reports to, I want you to convey that to the candidate. Get them excited. If you know exactly, put that in. Now, I understand that sales folks, marketing folks may be a little more active on LinkedIn. And if I'm working with IT or engineering, no offense to my folks out there, and that maybe LinkedIn, you haven't touched your LinkedIn profile in 3 years. I get it, right? I mean, no harm, no foul. But as you want to attract your top talent, now's the time to update that. So update a profile pic, update the description, update a little bit about you. It's very easy to do. It takes a half hour. There's a whole nother segment on that. But I would tell you, whatever role, department, position, you want to put who that person is reporting to if you possibly can. I think it's really critical. It's a new thing I saw and I really liked it. Okay. So how's this one? So as a hiring manager, I would always really want to see what questions that my candidate asked, right? The candidate I have in front of me, I want to see what questions they ask. I want to understand exactly how much they prepared, but some questions are universal. Now, I'm going to use a sales example here for engineering and IT. I'm sure you have your own. Okay. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm the most non-IT person in the world, so I won't even try and give you an IT example. But I will give you like a sales example. If I was a sales candidate coming in and I'm a hiring manager, I'm going to expect to talk OTE. I'm going to expect you talk, percent the quota in terms of the team or the individuals or the region or however it is. I'm going to expect to talk sales stack. Okay. Those are three common ones. It's just, cap it at three. So provide that up front. Okay. Be an open book. And we're going to talk about being an open book here again and more. I keep teasing like four things. Be an open book on that. I mean, how refreshing would it be if I, as a candidate, again, candidate experience, if I come in and part of the process, you get done the little back and forth, and you say, all right, Dave, let me tell you a little bit about the role. You're now selling the candidate on the position. Okay. Again, top talent, you're selling. Okay. This is a candidate experience. This is what we have for a sales stack. This is what we're looking at. This is what we're evaluating. What's been your experience? What tools do you like? Hey, this is percent to quota. This is what we had last year. This is what we're looking at this year. For the individual, for the team, you can talk about that in terms of, pieces. I would expect the next question I would expect from that candidate is, hey, for those who miss quota, give me the top reason. It's coming. Okay. It could be one of your questions you provide. All right. And then you're going to talk OTE. Okay. In terms of, hey, here's our base, here's our bonuses, here's our commission, here's our structure. All of that is laid out. Do not make the candidate go through the process of asking questions that are coming. Be an open book, put it up front, have the open conversation on it. There may be things that you don't love. Maybe your quota attainment wasn't that great, and this is why we're bringing in new talent. You can explain that. Be an open book. Honesty goes so far. And in this day and age of having a digital world, having open communication with anybody in the org, right? Because most good candidates are going to DM, are going to reach out on LinkedIn, and they're going to connect with your team. And your team's not going to tell you. Okay. They're going to connect and say, hey, I'm interviewing. Do you have 5 minutes? And that may be a DM, that may be a phone call. And they're going to know. So all your stuff that you have, might as well present it in a way that you want to present it and be an open book. Okay. It goes a long way. And I'll tell you, top candidates know. They will find out. So just present the information in the way that you want to present it. And then, have that piece of the puzzle. Okay. All right. So let's talk. You've done the first interview. Immediately. Now, I'm old school. In my time, have gone through and I would do a handwritten note. This is like crazy to think. Handwritten note to everybody that I interviewed with. I would literally put it in like a small envelope. I'd put that in the FedEx. It would be there overnight, and they would get a handwritten note from me. If I was in recruiting still, I swear I would still recommend this for my candidates. It would set them apart every time. I think it got them multiple jobs that I can think of. That it just works, right? But again, I'm going back to candidate experience. Sorry for saying it 5 times in 15 minutes. I want you as the company to reach out to that candidate and say, hey, great interview, and you should tell them how the interview went before they go off. They should know. But either way, that day at minimum 24 hours, they should get an email from who's ever doing the work, ideally the person that did the interview. I know it could be from a scheduling person or someone else in the department. I don't love that. I love it coming from the person who did the interview and said, man, it was great talking to you. I loved hearing the stories, and I hope you're staying warm in New York. Whatever that little tip is, that connection they have, don't lose that. Use that in the email and say, hey, our next interview is going to be on X, as we discussed. Love it. If you have any questions, here's my cell. You have to build upon that excitement. So what happens? I do an interview, I leave it, I come home. My sister, my brother, my husband, wife, friend, parents, anybody is going to ask me how the interview went. It's great. It was awesome. You have some excitement. They like it. And now they don't hear from me for 4 days. I can't tell you what I had for dinner 2 nights ago, and you're going to tell me how the interview went. I've lost my excitement. I don't remember. half the things you're going to put it in the email. I don't remember. You have to build on that excitement. You have to send that email, and you have to keep that process going, right? And you can even list out the steps and say, here are some projected dates, right? It all ties together, right? So those projected dates, well, now I'm going to internally in my organization, right, as the hiring manager or as the TA recruiting team, I'm going to my team going, hey, Dave's good, right? Block in a tentative time here for that final interview because that's what we're looking at. And we can adjust it. Okay, that's how you work schedules and everybody's in alignment in terms of candidate, hiring managers, final sign off, 100%. Okay, so I know for me, I wanted to see candidates reach out and I want to see them write. I want to see their excitement. I get it, man. 100% get it. But you know what? I'm sorry. It's 3.7 unemployment. You have a top candidate in front of you. I'm reaching out that day or within 24 hours. I'm going after my candidate. I want to know that I'm excited. Okay. So let me glance here. All right. We're kind of getting down to it. So let's talk on, you go through the process, you get your final. Okay. It's important to talk salary with that candidate. This may seem obvious, I know, and I'm sure 80% of you are going to go, yeah, no kidding, Dave. I'm going to tell you right now, people mess this up. There should be zero surprises with you, with that candidate on the offer. You should be talking to and say, hey, look, what are you, this is our salary for this position. I don't love negotiation when I get an offer. Okay. If I get something in writing, there should be something, it's already done. Okay. We should have that conversation usually as your final interview, or maybe it's the final interviews with the CEO, but my VP of HR, my VP of sales, whoever is doing my second to last, maybe that's where we're talking salary. Let's get that set. Okay. And that can go on concurrently as we're going up to the final interview with the CEO or the owner, whoever it may be. I want to get that back and forth, if there is any, done and out of the way. There's zero surprises. If I get something in writing, it's over, right? Like we're good, So work with that in terms of, that piece. Now, and I think I did some research. I want to say it's like 24 states out there that I am allowed to ask how much you're making right now. I can, I personally like that question, but I can tell you the easy question is, all right, Dave, we've been through the process, you've heard everything, and just, you and me, what salary are you looking at for this role? What OTE are we looking at for this role? What do you think? Again, they're going to know it. Okay. They know with all the data that's out there, they probably know your company and that role, but let's have that conversation. So now if there's any back and forth, any negotiation, that's fine. We can put it in writing, but when they get the final offer, it's over. It's done. Right. They know you've agreed upon it. Doesn't mean they accept it yet, but at least you've agreed upon it. Now we have that. Okay. So when you present the offer, I want it done, or me personally, I would highly recommend this. This is almost, in most critical pieces, I put this at the end, but in terms of criticality, 3 weeks, but this is really important. I love when the hiring manager presents the offer. Remember when I said who that person's going to report to in LinkedIn, right? Or I'm going to LinkedIn, I'm going to look at it. I'm going to report to Dave. I know Dave's experience. I've connected with him. I understand it. He's my person that I'm going to trust with my career to learn and to mentor me and to help me grow. I want that person on the call with the final offer being presented. Now, if you're in HR and listening to this, or your HR teams, and I fully understand this, hey, we have to be careful what we say here. Understand that. Completely understand it. So 2 things I would say to that. 1, have your HR team train you so you mess up and say something wrong. Or B, have HR on the call. Maybe HR leads the presentation of the offer, But I, as the hiring manager, am there to kind of invoke that emotion and say, Dave, I'm hiring you for this role. But in reality, in a year and a half, I really want you, in this role. I really want to see you grow. And we're tremendously excited to really hopefully have you with us and kind of start that process. It's emotion. It's the candidate experience. If you want to be very static and very, bland and just give them an offer, great. That's not world-class, hiring practices, best practices in recruiting. Your hiring manager has to be involved in that last conversation when they get the offer, because they're going to have an offer from somebody else, or they're going to be talking to somebody else. And what will bring them to your organization is that emotional connection to the person that they're reporting to. Okay. So I wanted to, that is a critical one. Okay. Now, let's talk pay for a second. So two things that were not on my LinkedIn, post here that I definitely want to add to you. Pay. You may try, and we're all looking at budgets, and we're all looking at, what we can do. Okay, so don't get mad at me here. You cannot go below market. Everybody knows what market is. Okay, everybody. I mean, I can pull up in an industry, in this position for this title in this location. I'm going to get a really good sense. It's not hard. I can do it in about 2 minutes on about 3 different websites and cross reference and get a good gauge of where it is. If you're dealing with a top candidate, they know. Okay. You cannot underpay. I don't care what market it is, because all that's going to happen is they will leave. And then in a year from now, you're either going to go through this entire process again with maybe a candidate who's not as good, lose all that efficiency in terms of, how hard is a person working when they're looking for a job. I can tell you it's not 100%, right? Is that position unfilled? Who am I going to get in the role? I have to retrain. Is there a client, perspective if I'm in sales, in terms of Dave made relationships, but now he's gone? Am I going to pay a recruiter $20,000 now to bring somebody in? You pay at least at market. It just works. Do not try and undercut it and work your base and commission or bonuses and pay at market, and you will retain top talent. I promise you. I've had 10 years of this. I'm telling you, it just works. Okay. Last thing here, and I'm going to wrap this thing up with you guys, is the offer and you present it. At this point of time, when you have negotiated the salary, the bonus structure, the commission, you've talked, everything is done. You've been on the phone with the hiring manager, talked to the candidate. At this point of time, it's 3 business days. Okay, this is where it goes a little bit off the candidate experience and into your hand. Okay, as the hiring manager and company, 3 business days. That's it. We're done. We're getting married or we're not. Right? This is, hey man, I'm proposing to you, and that's it. 3 business days. If you want it like over a weekend, that's cool. Anything longer than that, and the candidate's shopping, you don't want it. You don't have the right connection with that candidate if they're taking like 2 weeks. No one who's been a really solid hire is taking 2 weeks long to think about it. Go find someone else who really loves you at that point of time. Okay, that's asking for trouble if we're waiting 2 weeks for a candidate. I would tell you, I'll bend on this at a week. I'm not bending any further than that. Okay, so look, let me just kind of wrap this up here. All right, is that hiring is so critical to hitting our goals this year. I literally talk to 5 or 6 companies a day, and I would tell you 2 to 3 of them talk to me on hiring. And there's a whole nother episode I can do in terms of onboarding and training in your first 90 days and how that experience is. Maybe I do get to that, but you have to follow these, at least implement some of these as you walk, early here in 2024, in terms of bringing in top talent. And these are things that you can control, right? These aren't like, earth moving ideas, in my opinion. This is why I kind of wrote it. I was like, you can do this. Having a hiring manager on a call with an offer with HR to present it, emailing the candidate the day after, having a 3 week process, right? Adjusting pay, yes, I get it, a little bit harder, but that's if you're in that mode, please think about it, right? All these things are doable. So when I look at doing these episodes and like why sometimes I do just us here talking, it's because I have heard something in the market that I want to pass on. And what I'm hearing right now is everybody is looking at hiring for 2024, and it is hard, even though companies are laying off. And I still want to look at that in terms of how that's going to play out, as maybe smaller companies begin to piece in. But what I'm hearing right now is hiring is tough. So I want to pass this to you. We're going to have next episode. I'm extremely excited. So stay with me here for the next episode. Christine Capitos is going to be a co-host with me. So I'm going to bring in somebody else who's going to give me a breather a little bit, but she has a tremendous experience. She was on with me a few episodes ago. We hit it off so much. I said, hey, come on back and, help me ask these cool questions and different perspectives. She owns her own business. She's a phenomenal person. So I'm really excited for that. I hope you guys are too. Leave some comments here. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're on the podcast, hey, hit me up on LinkedIn. Send me a DM. Tell me you listened to it. Or if you disagree with something, I want to hear that too. I'd love to hear some, different perspectives. Other than that, stay safe. I have my coffee at 6:30 a.m. and I'm going to get off to my real job here. But everybody else, love you guys. Talk soon. Take care.